Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Trav's Outfitter podcast. I'm your host, Shane Carlson with
Double digits.
Travis Youthy. Yeah, 10 episodes. That's awesome. And Todd Axland, the store operations manager from Hy-Vee. But we're going to be talking about the PACH program here today in Watertown, which is People Against Child Hunger. Todd, you're a board member there. So we're going to get to hear his insight and all the great things that the PACH program does for local youth here in Watertown and some of the surrounding area. And they make a significant impact in our community and to fight and combat food insecurity for those kids going to school. It's sometimes hard to comprehend that we still have that problem today in 2024, but we do. So really interested to hear Todd's thoughts about that. So Todd, thanks for taking the time to join us here on the podcast today.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. It's a great little town. We live here. My wife and I have been here since August, and the community's welcomed me, and it's just a great little community. We came from Minneapolis, so this is
welcome to normality.
This is nice to be in little Mayberry after being in the cities.
Yeah, Todd and I were talking a little bit before the show started today, and we've got some commonalities there coming from the Twin Cities region to Watertown. So I think we're both pretty
Frida.
Yeah, we're both pretty happy to be here. So
look out, Shane.
Todd, first off, you're a board member with the PACH. How long have you been a board member there, and what kind of inspired you to do that?
PACH bought food from us, so I'm sitting there going, what is PACH? Okay. And they wanted it at a deep discount. Doesn't make sense. Then all of a sudden, I dug into what PACH was, and it's to feed children, hungry children. And like you said, in today's economy, 2024, you don't realize how many people are still hungry. And kids are the heart of my life. I don't ever want to see a child go without. So I joined the board in October of 23.
Oh, wow.
Awesome. Can you share a little bit about people who haven't heard of PACH, kind of what the mission is and what they stand for, and how they're helping to fight this problem?
Well, PACH was originally started in 2010. They did an 8-week program in the springtime to feed kids. And what we do is we have a nutrition diet that we actually give them. Get to that and give you some ideas of what they actually receive in their meal pack. They obviously get a fruit. They get tuna, peanut butter, canned vegetables, some type of snack, pudding, oatmeal, things that they can have on the weekends when their mom and dad aren't there. Easy things to prepare. Because parents today, unfortunately, have to work 7 days a week. So there's a lot of kids to go without because the parents are working.
I think that's something that we often forget is that not everybody works on Monday through Friday jobs. Like you said, a lot of parents work on weekends, and that leaves kids in a vulnerable position at home.
Exactly. And like I said, I was fortunate enough because my parents taught me how to cook, but they worked weekends, but they taught me how to cook. But today, that's just not the way our society is, unfortunately. And things are so much easier because there's microwaves, there's this and that, which I didn't have growing up.
Yeah, for sure. I was fortunate. My mom and dad, I've shared this a few times, but not with you, Todd, but my mom and dad made a decision early on. I just have one sibling, so it was just two of us. But in the 70s and 80s, made the decision that mom was going to stay home and my dad was going to work. And they knew that there would be some sacrifices for that, right? And so we didn't have a lot of the sort of toy things or exciting things that a lot of families have today. And my mom did all the cooking, but I was around it. I got an opportunity to witness it. I was able to see what it looked like to mix up and bake cookies. I got an opportunity to see what it was like to make a meal and then the next day use the leftovers and come up with another meal.
Exactly.
And I know that seems probably for a lot of listeners for this podcast, I think it's like second nature. But the fact of the matter is we're like a generation or a half a generation away from that already.
Yep.
I mean, my mom, who I love very, very much, is not near the cook that my grandma was. I mean, my grandma could feed a whole group of people harvesting on about 4 pounds of flour and maybe a half a gallon of milk and some water and a pound of burger, you know? I mean, and that's no disrespect to my mom, but those things they're just lost. They've been lost in our society.
Yep, and I was fortunate. My parents shipped me out to the farm every summer. So both sets of grandparents, I learned to also cook from grandma's. So,
Yep.
and like you said, they had nothing, but we always had huge meals.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think food. I don't know. I think no matter what culture you're from, food is a centerpiece and integral to every culture. That's where people gather. That's where people break bread with others. And it's so important. And I think, you know, as we've talked, parents working more and more, maybe not being there on weekends, we're starting to get away from not all eating as a family, as a unit. And maybe people never had that experience, but from my experience, we were fortunate enough to all 5 of us be able to eat at the supper table together. But I've noticed that is maybe not as common as people think anymore.
I 100% agree. My wife and I, we had to make a rule. No TV, no cell phones. We sit down and eat meal together every night. It was there for a while. We were watching TV in front of the TV on our cell phones. You know, I'm 60. I never grew up with a cell phone, but we had to put a stop to it, become a family unit.
So Shane, this isn't how I'm going off the tracks. I'm going to go off the tracks a little later, but I am going to interject. Dining together, breaking bread together, eating together is biblical.
Yep.
It is. It is. Jesus met with people when they ate. Lots of stories of that. And the night before he was betrayed, he ate a meal with his 12 disciples.
Exactly.
So, there is something that happens. I don't know exactly what it is, but there is something that happens physically, emotionally, spiritually when we eat together, when we break bread together. And I had a friend of mine, interesting that this is the topic for this podcast, but I had a friend of mine talk to me about that just the other day. He's a man of God, and he is a anti-technology guy. And so he and his wife don't have TVs in their home. And he said, one reason that we don't have TVs in our home is because we don't want it to take away from our communication with our children. He said, many people in America had a TV, they would make a meal, they would sit around the table and eat the meal, and they might shut the TV off or do whatever, and then they would go back to watching the TV. He said, pretty soon, the TV is on, they're eating a meal together at the table, and one person is preoccupied by the TV. The next stage is they don't sit down at the table and eat. Everybody picks a spot and eats in front of the TV. What's happening with each one of these steps is there's less communication. Then to your point, then we have the advent of cell phones. So now you have TV and cell phone, and it's nearly impossible to eat a meal and look somebody in the eye. And sometimes I'm guilty of that. I'm not here chastising people. I'm just here speaking the truth.
Yep.
I think talking about or adding to what you just said, I'm absolutely guilty, especially right now, Sunday night football game is on. Maybe the volume's not on, but I'm checking the score. I'm looking like
Go Lions!
I'm peering over my wife's shoulders and like, oh, is that good for my fantasy team? But like that's a distraction. That's a real thing. Like people just aren't communicating as much, like you said, around food, around the table, and with their families. So Todd, I want to get back to some of the intricacies of the PACH program. Who all is eligible for this program? Do you have to be enrolled in Watertown School District, or how does that work?
We have several districts here that we not only serve the Watertown area. We have. Let me get to where my actual notes are. We do Watertown Christian, Great Plains, St. Mary's, and Florence, Henry, and Waverly South Shore. So we touch quite a few communities in the county. Just to give you a rough idea, this year is passing 585
Is that
Per
per week or?
per week.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. That's an astounding number. I mean, people just don't think about it. Like I had no idea that 585 within just the surrounding communities are in need of that kind of support. And that's just the ones that you know about. That's not the ones who are maybe, not as forthcoming, that maybe need it but don't ask for it.
That's one thing our schools do. They really, when they enroll each year, they are a big pusher of PAC in an anonymous way. So it is an anonymous program.
Mm-hmm.
The other kids throughout the school don't know they receive this. The meals are put into their lockers when everybody else is in class. So it's anonymous, which is great for the kids because other kids can't chastise them.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's that kind of answered the next question. How many roughly per week are you serving? Does this program extend through the school year into the summer, or is it just for the school year? How does that work?
We do have a summer PAC. The numbers fall off in the summer because they have to come get it. And they can only come twice a month, so we give them 2 weeks meals out. So usually around 100 to 150, but pretty much just Watertown people.
Mm-hmm.
But just kind of give you an idea, in 21 and 22, we did 17,562 meals. 22, 23, 18,782. 23, 24, 20,679 meals. So as the economy's worsening, our program's growing. In that we feed these kids 36 weeks out of the year.
Yeah, both of you have children, and I'm sure that I have a young child at home, and that is something that it hurts your heart to hear that, doesn't it?
Yep.
And the numbers keep going up, and getting into the Christmas, the holiday season here, are those numbers trending upward now that we're getting into this season, or does that really not affect it?
That doesn't really affect it.
Okay.
We started the year with 600, we're at 585, and that's usually the trend. We'll lose for some at the beginning, and then when some kids graduate midterm, we'll drop for a couple weeks, and then it never fails. We do pick up younger kids in elementary school more in January because families also have to redo their budget.
Yeah, and that's a real issue. Do you have some success stories through your time being a board member, things that you've been able to witness, see, or even just hear about the impact that the PAC program is making on these youth?
It's not only impacting on the youth, it was very impacting to me. I've been to several communities. I work for Hy-Vee. I've moved around. And like Shane and I are talking, I've never, ever seen a community that's this generous.
Mm-hmm.
And that speaks for Watertown people. I did the PAC. We have an August where they drop off food or drop off money. And people say, I'd rather give you money than give you guys food. It's just amazing. I mean, it chokes me up being a board member just to see how this community embraces their community. So that, to me, is probably the biggest success in my opinion, because it not only impacts us adults, it impacts the kids. Here's a few things families have written us. Has helped with after school snacks when money is tight. As a family of 8, really helps us feed our school kids after school. Helping low on food. Helping low on food. Never had that. Gives my girls a chance to have plenty after school snacks. And over the weekend, they look forward to the bags at Christmas time each year. We put a milk voucher and a bed voucher in there.
Mhm.
Then we have different organizations that handwrite holiday cards to the kids, which, here again, community volunteers doing that. It really helps with the increase of the cost of groceries, the cost of everything, folks.
Yep.
And being in this industry for as many years as I have, just to see the cost skyrocket just baffles me. And I'm sure you see that in the clothing industry and everything. It's just costing so much more.
Yeah.
The PACH program allows those kids to have snacks and easy meals. If I'm working or late or unable to make supper. This is what people are send to us, our website. So it really impacts families.
And like you said, I think, yeah, it impacts families, but I think hearing, your stories from being a board member with PAC, I think it equally impacts the board members, everybody who's a part of this program, whether you're, planning these events or you come in as a unit and volunteer your time and you dedicate some of your time that's so precious that we all wish we had more of, to make such a big difference in the lives of those in our community.
We have 36 groups that PAC works. Us board members don't PAC. We just oversee 36 different. And we have a waiting list. That just tells you more about this community.
Yeah, so I've spent, we moved here, I was in 3rd grade, and so Watertown's my home. I'm not a, generational Watertownian family, but Watertown's my home. And anybody that knows me knows that I have an unbelievable pride in Watertown, Northeast South Dakota, our state. I bleed South Dakota. But that's quite an honor for someone like yourself who's been in different communities to say that Watertown's generous. You hear those things at different fundraising events and things like that. But as a Christian, I know that generosity comes from someplace else. We first have to understand the gifts that have been given to us, because it's pretty hard to give away, or it's pretty hard to emulate something we don't understand. And so that's, to me, that's a really moving testimony from you about our community, about our area. I have to tell you, Shane, we talked a little bit, and this is the fastball. I don't know how much more you got going there. Shane's the organized guy. Okay?
I try. I just try.
And I'm supposed to be the lightning rod, but I've been a little bit not bright lately. Well, I've been not bright for a long time, but the lightning rod has not been like sharp lightning. But we talked about it, and we talked about these podcasts, and at the end of the day, we're highlighting a lot of things that are very, very important. I believe the Cudahy County Detention Center is very important. I believe the PAC program is very important. I believe, Shane, this is our 10th episode. I'm 54, I'm losing my mind, but we've had a lot of things on here that are near and dear to us. But I have to tell you, I've been under the weather kind of off and on for about 4 weeks, and I was home a couple of weeks ago, and I was flipping through, just trying to find something to watch, try to get to sleep, and I ran across this documentary. It happened to be Home by Sunday. It's a documentary of the contemporary Christian band Casting Crowns, who happens to be my favorite. Mark Hall, who is the lead singer of Casting Crowns and writes most of their music, is a youth pastor still today, even after all of the Dove Awards and the Grammy Awards and selling 18 million albums and having their music on many Christian movies. But in this documentary, Mark Hall said something to me that hit me, Shane. And in my prayer this morning, I was thinking about our podcast, and I was just asking God, what can what can we do? What can we talk about? We knew we were going to get the facts and figures from you. I had no clue, to be honest with you, because we hadn't met. I was late getting here. I was at a sales call. I had no clue that we were going to have somebody that had the heart that you have for children and for Watertown. And I'm thankful to sit beside you. I'm thankful to sit beside you.
Well, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
This community.
Yeah.
I really am.
Yeah. But Mark Hall started asking himself a question. Each time he would write lyrics or a tune to a Christian song. So what? So what? And so my question to you guys is, and I'm not asking for an answer because this is completely catching you flat-footed, it's completely catching you cold. You're going to get an idea in about 2 minutes here about how I'm a starry-eyed guy, and Shane's just going to roll his eyes. But those numbers went from 16, 17,000 to over 20,000. So my question is, so what? That's not a slight on the PACH program. That's not a slight on the 36 organizations and the numerous ones that are standing in line to PACH. That's not a slight on those that donate, and I'm sure Hy-Vee gives a deep discount, and everything that goes into making sure that over 500 PACH packages are put together every week. It's not a slight on that. But my question is, so what? So what do we have to do so those numbers can go down? Just saying to you, so what? I'm not saying, and I'm not being detrimental, disrespectful to anyone that has to receive those PACH packages or needs to receive those PACH packages, because I'm just like you. The last thing I want to see is a child hungry. I don't want to see an adult hungry. Matter of fact, we were in Dallas last week. You didn't even hear this story, but we were in Dallas last week, and we went to a smokehouse that I just love down there. And we were walking out, and I was with my wife and 2 of our female employees, and they went across the street. I had unlocked the rental car. They got in the car. This gentleman comes up to me. Didn't have a tooth in his head. He hadn't had a bath in months. And he said to me, I really want to go to the mission tonight, but it's $12 to get into the mission. I really want to shower. I want supper, and they'll give me breakfast for $12. Now, I'm telling you folks, I have no idea if he was telling me the truth or not. I didn't even care. Because when I dug in my wallet and I handed him a $20 bill, at that point it was between him and God. If he chose to use that $20 bill for something else, that's between him and God. But God sent that guy in my path at that exact time for a reason. When I handed this guy a $20 bill, he wept. Well, my question is so what? What do we have to do? We're a giving community. What do we have to do? How can we come along some of these parents? Now, there are some of these parents, I'm sure, that are struggling with their wages, keeping up with inflation. I understand all that. But I'm willing to bet you, just because I'm a starry-eyed dreamer, that there probably are some parents that struggle with some things. Maybe instead of not being taught how to cook, maybe they weren't taught how to manage money. Maybe because of wounds that were inflicted on them when they were children, before they were parents, they have something on their shoulder that's consuming some of their money every month. So my question is, so what? So what as a community can we do to come alongside those folks? I know this isn't what the point of this was. But Shane, I have to tell you, I'm on this. The question becomes, so what? What can we do? Not asking for answers today. I'm just asking for folks to think about it. The listeners of the podcast to think about it. Because if we don't look at so what, that number could be 23,000. And then it could be 25,000. And then it could be 28,000. And if people need to eat, people need to eat. But you know the old saying, if you give somebody a fish, you feed them for a day, or if you teach them how to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. We have all sorts of people. I'll bet there are a lot of people that come and either are on your board or pack lunches that are all sorts of professionals.
Oh, yes.
I'll bet there's doctors, I'll bet there's counselors, I'll bet there's accountants, I'll bet there's attorneys, I'll bet there's all sorts of people that could offer free life advice. And if it affected, out of 500 and some packages, if it affected 1%, if we affected maybe 1/10 of 1%, if we affected 5 families, because we came alongside them and we said, hey, we get it, you need this, we want to do this for you, that's what this program is designed for, but we got more, but we can give more. And folks, it goes back to what we talked about when Jesus did his work through food.
Yep.
I don't know, what do you guys think? Have I lost it, Shane?
I don't think so. I think you are onto something, and I think maybe people, when we talk about giving, maybe people's first initial reaction is financially. But like you said, it doesn't have to be financially. It can be a life skill, cooking or managing a budget or hosting some sort of event to help somebody in a meaningful way rather than financially. And I think, coming into this time of year, the Christmas season, we're asked to reflect on how things have gone this year for us and how we can make a better positive influence in the coming year. And I think that's something that people can ponder is, how can I be of service? How can I lead with a servant heart to help the community that we're in and the people that are struggling in our community?
And I try to live my life as if Christ was working through me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because that speaks volumes, and people don't know why. It speaks to them why they say, I'm so comfortable around it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a peace in me.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And if you live like that, I reap the rewards.
Yes.
I reap the blessings.
Yep. Well, and ultimately God's kingdom is the winner, because each person that becomes saved, once they enter a real relationship, they want to give it away.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's a multiplication factor that happens there. But anyways, for those that are listening to this podcast, I think the question needs to be, so what? Here again, not in a discounting way. So what? What is it that we can do that we can change what we already believe, we've already identified as a very unique and beautiful community and surrounding area? And sometimes my wife gets really upset with me because she says, you're never satisfied. And I'm not convinced that I'm never satisfied in a bad way. Rarely am I satisfied that I'm like, okay, we're done. Because I'm quite convinced that each time, whether I'm selling a pair of shoes or making a sales call or whatever it might be, Shane's creating marketing materials for Trav's Outfitter, if we don't believe that we can improve by 0.5% or 1% each time we do it, what the heck is a tackle and fuel? What drives us to go to work every day? What pushes us, right? So what my point is again, I just want to say in my sort of, maybe not closing statements, but this is not at all a slight. I think we are unbelievably blessed to have folks like you and the rest of the board and all these organizations that come and pack meals. And as a Christian, it's a blessing to be able to serve those that need to be served. But my question is what can we do to help just some of those families become more self-sufficient? And I will tell you that I believe that if we could come up with that as a community and we could replicate it, we might be surprised.
Because if you touch 5 lives, those 5 lives will go out and each one touch 5 more.
Amen.
and it just multiplies.
Amen. Amen. And I'm talking about a completely, like you were saying, it's anonymous. In a non-judgmental way. I mean, I've had lots of help in my life from people that have walked up to me and they've said, Travis, you seem too smart, are you? And I've nodded my head, yeah. But I've had lots of help in my life where people have come alongside me and they've been like, they haven't said it, but they've been like, I love you and I want better for you. Walk with me. Walk with me for this season. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. So, I guess I'll let you guys, Shane's probably got more stuff to thunder away at, but I just want to throw that out there because at the end of the day, these podcasts are great, and I love it. This is our 10th one. But I want to throw some stuff out there that people watch it, and then they're like, you know, that guy that owns Trav's Outfitter, he's a little nuts. You probably should watch this podcast. Because there's this Todd Axland, and he is a sharp cat. And Shane, he's a really good dude, right? So if I'm the color, and I'm the guy that gets made fun of, I'm all right with it. But if the word gets out there, and if just one person sees this podcast and they come up with an idea for so what? Wow, wouldn't that be something?
And yeah, this makes me think back to, not to get too far off the tracks here, but to the last episode of our podcast was we talked about growing numbers of inmates in the detention center, and really isn't the goal to reduce the number of people that are in there. Yeah, it's great to have a great facility, but really we want to help the people that are in there not be in there, and we want to help the people that are in the PACH program not have to be in the PACH program anymore. Like we want to help them better their lives and not just keep them in a cycle, but to kind of nurture them as they're here and then see them flourish in the future. That seems to be the goal.
Yep. And that's the goal in life.
That's right.
Is help those that can't help themselves.
Yep. Yeah, and we talked about it already, but we can't give away something we don't have.
Yep.
You know, I had a good friend of mine long into sobriety, over 30-some years, and he said to me, he said, I was so mad because my dad would never tell me that he loved me. And he had one of his friends in the program said to him, he said, you can't be mad at your dad because your dad can't give you something he never had. Your grandpa never told your dad that he loved him. And you're asking your dad to tell you something he was never told. Right? What comes first, the chicken or the egg? And the question is, so what?
You're giving me a lot to think about, besides PACH.
So as some of the practical things here that businesses can do, Todd, you said that you had 36 businesses currently having a team of volunteers, and that there's a waiting list. How much space is left on that waiting list? I mean, do you got endless pieces of paper that you can add more to, or how do businesses who want to help get involved?
We have 4 businesses that get to choose the first 4 time slots. And these businesses are very generous with their givings to PACH.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's one way. We're not saying buy your way in.
No.
But
that's the way the world works. I mean, that's the way the world works.
you know, and
Yep.
that's how we collect some money.
Mhm.
United Way is our biggest contributor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like you said, ID gives the discounts. They're not the only one. So does Walmart, Phoenix, South Dakota. You know, when they say, I'm sitting on the board, we're going to buy this at Walmart, Todd. Okay. I'm a businessman.
Yep.
And now I'm on a committee. I want to save the money on the committee.
For sure. Yeah.
2 years ago, our bags are costing $7.18 because of inflation.
Mm-hmm.
By us as a committee, with prices still going up, we got it down to $5.38 this year.
Wow.
It takes us a lot of work.
Yeah.
There are 3 of us on the board member that just sit there and look for deals in their spare time, just to have that dollar go that much farther.
Yeah. Wow.
It's really neat to see and hear you speak about yeah, you're a businessman and you work at Hy-Vee, but it's not just Hy-Vee helping out here. There's other contributors and there's other people, other businesses coming together to make this program happen. It's not one company that wants to help, yes, but also wants all the credit, because I recently heard, and I heard it before, imagine what you could accomplish if you didn't care about who got the credit. And this is an example of that, an example of businesses coming together to do something greater than just to serve themselves, but to serve their community.
Yep, and that's the business model that Hy-Vee is built on. We give back to the community. And it's the other businesses that are not locally owned to also step in. That says something about the people in that, between those four walls, and how they're getting involved in the community and telling their corporate, we are going to do this.
Yeah, that's one thing as an independent retailer. I've lived my life being able to kind of do what I felt like doing when I felt like doing it, right? And I've been told many times by Mike, our general manager, that I wouldn't survive in corporate America, and he's probably right. But you said a lot there, because in corporate America, that's something that someone in your position, whether it's at Hy-Vee or Walmart or wherever, you guys got to go to bat.
Yep.
You guys got to go to bat for that, and you have to make a real case, and you probably have to step on a few toes, and you got to break a few eggs once in a while, and so that's an unbelievable gift to our community too.
The holiday season coming up, you kind of answered this before, but the services, say, kids are on a school break for Christmas. Are they able to get PACH program lunches and meals for that time, or is it just specifically for the weekends during that period? How does that look?
We just pack an extra. If they're not there for 2 weeks, we pack 2 weeks worth of food for them. And then our milk and bread program is huge. It is huge. But I wish the PACH parents would even take more advantage of it, because sometimes I think the parents don't realize that we're giving you a $7 voucher. That is a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread will last that family all week long.
Yes.
I just wanted to kind of leave the floor up to both of you. Any parting thoughts regarding PACH, or kind of anything that we talked about today? What do you want our listeners to kind of marinate on a little bit?
It's a season to give. But just because it's a season to give doesn't mean you can't give all the time. And that's what we need to be doing. Those that are fortunate, we just can't remember it's Christmas time. People are in need. People are in need of help. Mental help, financial help, all that stuff. Recovering from alcohol, drugs.
Yep.
So we've got to be a giving person all the time, not just during the holidays. It's a year-round mission that we have.
Yep.
PACH has a mission. We should all have a mission in life, and not focus on me.
Yeah, those are beautiful words for sure. Yeah, and I guess my closing thoughts would be, thank you to the community we live in. Thank you to the county we live in. Thank you to the state we live in. Thank you to those donors that accomplish a lot and don't get any credit for it. That give to Feeding South Dakota and give in ways that no one sees, right? And so oftentimes those donors go without being thanked because, and they don't do it because they want to get thanked, but they go without being thanked because they're anonymous. People don't know that they're doing it. And so this is our opportunity. It's a little bit of a blanket thank you, but it's better than no thank you at all. Thank you to those that give, that give and continue to give when called upon. And then I would say to those that are listening, take those two words and just think about it. I thought about that even when it came to my marriage the other day. I was like, so I do this for Sherry, so what? You know? Yeah, am I doing it because I genuinely want to do something for her? Or am I doing it because I feel like there's an end game, right? And I think that's an okay question to ask ourselves, right? And I don't want to leave this podcast like I'm mowing people down. That's not what I'm doing at all. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to gently nudge people to take a long, hard look at what we're doing and how we live our lives. And I don't know about you guys, but I have to do this all the time because today is an example. Like I got something I didn't even get out of here for lunch, you know, and I'm not, I don't need to go to lunch, but I didn't get out of here for lunch today. But that's the way my life goes, right? And so it's really easy for me to see when God puts somebody in my way, not in my way like to stop me, but in my pathway. It's easy for me to go, I don't have time for this today. I've got this list going. And Shane's heard me say this before. That is an unbelievable gift. I'm still very poor at it, but it's an unbelievable gift I was given a long time ago by another follower of Jesus to analyze those kairos moments that God gives you when the supernatural breaks into the natural. And instead of automatically saying, I don't have time for this today, going, I think I can make 3 minutes. So that would be my parting idea. So
That's so what I'm taking back to the store
yeah.
and make it a positive.
Yeah.
There's too many people who take that negative and put it in a negative way. So what? Let's not worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
So what? Let's find a solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we answer that so what? And then what's our next so what?
Mm-hmm.
It just gives me a different outlook in life.
Mm-hmm.
2 simple words.
Yep. Yeah, it was profound when I saw it. All right.
Well, I just want to, on behalf of the Trav's Outfitter podcast, thank you to Todd Axland for making the time to join us today, and to our viewers on our YouTube channel and our listeners wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Thank you for giving us a chance and allowing us into your homes and into your cars, wherever you listen. We have a lot of fun doing this and putting this podcast together. But please remember that every small action that you do, you have a chance to make a big impact in our community here in Watertown and the surrounding area. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, follow us on our YouTube channel, wherever you prefer to listen, however you prefer to listen. And thanks for giving us a chance on our 10th episode of the Trav's Outfitter podcast. And until next time, thank you again.